I'm going to ask my friend, Brother Dan Surstead, Dr. Surstead, to come minister to us today. He's been with us on several occasions. It's nice to have his wife, Jeannie, with us. Amen. Praise God. And just turn it over to Brother Surstead. Take your liberty, brother.
You can be seated for a moment. I'm going to just make some comments here. Good to be back in Olympia, and good to have my wife. My wife is the one in the green over there. I asked her if she wanted to preach, and she said not today. So maybe next time. But anyway, good to have. This is not the first time she's been here. This is the first time she's been here with me. But she was a member of this church 44 years ago. How many of you go back 44 years here? One. So there we go. Got some old timers with us. And I consider myself, I've been here long enough. I've not met the board on this, but I've been here long enough to consider myself a non-voting member of this church. So that's pretty safe, right? Non-voting. And so I'm maybe some of these conversations have been had before, but I'm going to just slip something in here. It was an honor to be at your pastor's wedding, and his good wife. Sorry that she's not here this morning. But among all, if any of you know anything about blended family situations, there's a reason why they call it blended. Anybody have a blender in the kitchen? You put all kinds of stuff in there, and then what? You turn on the motor, and it just there's some interesting things happen to get it all blended, right? The blades do their thing and start to work. So out of all of the components of this blended family that's now taken place, Sister Boyd has one extra part of all that than the others. Maybe her children would be a part of that as well. But to take on everything that these folks have done, and then for her especially to take on everything, in addition to all that, she is assuming a spot as pastor's wife. And that, my friends, is something I've never had any experience at. I've never identified in that arena, and don't have any plans to. But I do work with several pastors' wives, have worked with several pastors' wives, and understand a little bit that dynamic. And so I am praying that the honeymoon period lasts for a long time. Lasts for a long time. And I know you folks have no doubt been very kind, but after a bit, honeymoons kind of wear off, and we start taking advantage of each other. And so hopefully that doesn't happen for many, many years. And you can all work together for the kingdom. But be kind. Be kind to her, tender-hearted, loving kindness. And pray. I appreciated the fact that you folks have prayed for her and the family, and just a wonderful thing. We're looking forward to great things in the Lord. Good to see these young folks over here. Now, I was a little interested during the offering time. There was a couple young men that were sitting on the front, and it's like they got up and they moved to the second row. And I was thinking, well, I wonder if they're getting out of the spray zone. And then their fine sister sits right there in the spray zone. So good for you. The Lord bless you. Amen. I want to take just a few moments as well and talk about. I'm here. Many of you know me, been here before, but I work with an organization or a nonprofit organization called Daystar Ministries, and we've done some teaching here in the past, and been here preached in the past. But one of the things that we do, in addition, which most folks are not aware of or not a part of, is we have a somewhat of a counseling center, do clinical counseling, and that's scary to a lot of folks. You know, a lot of individuals think that counseling means that there's something wrong with you, but in Scripture, there was a wise guy who stopped being wise at some point and stopped taking his own advice and stopped seeing counselors. And that there's wisdom in a multitude of counselors. All through Scripture, it's a wise thing for us to recognize that we don't necessarily have all the answers. And one of the things that we do with Daystar Ministries and the counseling aspect of that is we spend a lot of time helping people, or we teach them about themselves. That's one of the tools that we use. Teach them about themselves, help people get unstuck, lend some direction to whatever's going on in life. And we do deal with critical situations, crisis situations, deal with couples, deal with individuals, deal with families. We've worked in a lot of areas. And I'm thankful to the Lord for His assistance in all of that. So this church, Olympia, United Pentecostal Church, is a supporter of Daystar Ministries. And I don't wear a hat. If I wore a hat, I would take it off for you, but I would already be off because I'm in the house of the Lord, and I don't wear hats in the house of the Lord. I was just taught that as a child. But I am thankful, thankful to this church, your pastor, for supporting us now for a few years. And that has been a blessing and does help. It's allowed us to do some things that we otherwise would not have been able to do. So thank you, Olympia, for that assistance. And appreciate that going forward as well. Should any of you desire to spend some quality time with me, have a chat with your pastor, and we'll see what happens. All right. It's quiet in here. Yeah, that's what I say. We're listening. I'm listening. Good. Now, normally, I'm used to folks that have Sunday morning service that get out at noon. So here we are. But I think we'll take a little bit more time. And I used to be accused of being a long-winded preacher. But most of the time, those days are behind me. Every once in a while, I pull from the past to give myself a little extra minutes that I've given previously, but I don't think that's going to happen today. I want the Lord to talk to our hearts, talk to my heart, talk to your heart. I have what I think is a simple message once again today. It's from the Word of the Lord, and it's something that I believe can stick with each and every one of us that are here, and we can take this and chew on it and be blessed. So that's what I want to do today. Is that all right? Amen. All right, stand with me one more time for a final stretch. if you need to. And we're going to go to the Word of the Lord, the Old Testament. There is the longest book of the Bible, the Psalms. We're going to go to the 91st Psalm and read 3 verses, 14, 15, and 16. I am going to be reading out of the Revised Standard Version, but they are all pretty similar in this reading. Psalm 91, 14 through 16. Before we read, can we pray? Let's talk to the Lord one more time. Jesus, we are thankful for your presence that's in this house today. We're thankful for all those that have assimilated themselves into your house. I pray, God, that this time would not be wasted, but that this time would be dedicated to you, that every heart, every mind would be open to your word. And I pray, God, that we would be encouraged and that our understanding would grow just a little bit more today as a result of this time. I ask, God, that we would respond and that you would do whatever needs to be done in each and every one of us today. I pray in Jesus' name. Jesus' name. Amen. Psalm 91, starting with verse 14, says, "Because he cleaves to me in love, I will deliver him. I will protect him, because he knows my name. When he calls to me, I will answer him. I will be with him in trouble. I will rescue him and honor him. With long life I will satisfy him and show him my salvation." Amen. You may be seated in Jesus' name. So, the title this afternoon now, taking out of Psalm 91 verse 14, the last 4 verses, he knows my name. He knows my name. And 2 sides to this message. The first side is he knows my name, and the second side is he knows my name. So I don't want to confuse you too much, but in both those situations, the he and the my are referring to different individuals in both of them, and so we're going to jump in that direction. I do a little bit of travel, been doing that a little bit now, and walked into a hotel not long ago. And before I got to the counter, the assistant manager of the establishment there said, "Good afternoon, Mr. Surstead." And my first thought was, wow, he knows my name. I hadn't checked in yet. I just walked in the door. And he says, "Good afternoon, Mr. Surstead." For you ladies that are in the house here today, when you heard your name for the first time spoken by a young man that you were starstruck by, you possibly would have got, as my wife used to use this term, Twitter-pated. And maybe you thought, wow, he knows my name. So a few years ago, a fellow by the name of David sat down, got his parchment out. Don't know if he had a desk or a table, but he sat down, he had his writing utensils, got his parchment in place, put his container of ink right where he needed it, picked up his quill, dipped it in that ink, and under the inspiration, I believe, of the Holy Ghost, began to write these words that would make up the 91st Psalm. And David wrote about some awesome benefits that come to the one who puts his trust in God. He was writing these things in this particular psalm. Lots of other nuggets in this 91st psalm. And he's writing on this particular day. And he writes about the protection of God in the midst of a time of pestilence. He writes about the angels of God that have been charged to guard the faithful. David writes about the wicked getting their just reward, and the one that finds his habitation in the Most High will see 1,000 fall at one side and 10,000 fall on the other side. David is writing all of these things in this particular psalm, and then he gets to where what we have is verse 14. And even though his hands formed the words, his fingers and the quill and the ink, it would form the words that would end up on the parchment. It's doubtful that David fully comprehended what he wrote, what he was getting ready to write, whatever your preference is today. I want to talk about these words for the next few moments. He knows my name. To the one that cleaves to me in love, God was writing through the hands of David. He said, I will deliver that individual. And that word translated love here in this particular usage is not the usual word for love as normally put forth in the Old Testament. But this particular word, love, means to cleave to cling to be passionate, to be attached to, and to be devoted to. God has good available for everybody, whether they love Him or not. God provides some benefits and some goodies, some bennies, if you would, to everybody in this world that we are a part of. Both the righteous and the unrighteous benefit from the blessings of the Almighty God. But the one that cleaves to God with all of his heart, the one that cleaves to God with all of his soul and with all of his mind and with all of his strength, God will deliver that person. God will protect that individual. That person may still have, and some of you can testify to this, may still have to go through some times of fire. They may still have to endure the wind. They may still have to go through the flood. They may still have to go through these things. But the one that is passionate about God will not go through those experiences of life by themselves. They will not face the fire alone. Just like the 3 Hebrew men, God will be with them and God will deliver them. Not only would this individual that is attached to the Lord and devoted to Him be delivered, but he will also be protected. Why will he be protected? Because he knows my name. And that my is capitalized. Because he knows my name. This is the King of Kings speaking here and talking. Why will this happen? Why will I focus upon him? Because he knows my name. It's not just the angels that are protecting this individual. Scripture lets us know that the angels of the Lord encamp round about them that fear him. But it's not just the angels that are protecting this individual, but it's the God of the angels that has taken charge of the security regime of this person. Why? Because he knows my name. Because he knows my name. One of the most precious possessions that we have today, that you have today, is your name. How many here remember your name today? Okay, about 15%. Let me rephrase the question. How many of you have forgotten your name today? That narrows it down to 1 or 2. Very good. So that's a better, I get much better participation. I forget that sometimes when I frame the question in a way that does not encourage anybody to move any part of their anatomy. Our name's important. Your name is important. To this day, I have people that add all kinds of letters to my last name. My name is spelt S-I-R-S-T-A-D. Some people will put E's in, extra E's, or add E's to that. Some people add T's to that. Some people add letters that probably aren't part of the alphabet to that. I always appreciate it when somebody just leaves it alone and doesn't add or take away. Just says it like it is. And your name is precious to you. The wise men said that a good name is worth more than riches. Having a good name. I myself am horrible at remembering names. I am. And when I stumble with a name, most people are polite. Most people are polite, but are no doubt silently unimpressed. But when I get a person's name right, there typically is a smile, a slight smile of appreciation. And they are no doubt thinking, this man sure has it all together. And of course, we know better. But as important as my name is to me, and as important as your name is to you, the name of the Lord is of far greater importance. There is no other name given among men under heaven whereby we must be saved. The name of the Lord is a strong and a mighty tower, and the righteous run into it, and they are safe. And so of all the names that are present in this world today, there's one name that stands high above them all. The same Spirit that anointed David to write these words that I brought to your attention would also anoint Luke to write that there is, as stated, no other name under men given among men under heaven whereby we must be saved. What God is referring to here is that somebody that knows His name by which He was called. In the Old Testament, the I am that I am, or H-I, or JHVH, which was unpronounceable. But God is referring to the individual that knows what encapsulates His name. It's not just the ability to write the letters of my name. It's not just the ability to call me I am that I am. It's not just knowing His name is Jesus. It's not just knowing what His name is, but it is knowing what He encapsulates, who He is, the embodiment of that name. When God says He knows my name, He is referring to the person that knows Him in His glory, that knows Him in His power, that knows Him in His character today, that knows Him in His mercy, that understands His grace, that knows His love, that knows His provision and His long suffering, that knows His word, that knows His precepts, His correction, His justice, that knows and listens to His voice, that knows His protection, that knows His holiness, that knows His presence. And I can go on and on and on and on. It's not just enough to know the name of the Lord, but we must know who He is. And that is who the Lord is referring to when He says He knows my name. I can picture the Lord looking at this person with a holy pride. I think there's such a thing. With appreciation, a thanksgiving that a father would have with a child, and thinking, this person knows who I am. This person has some semblance of understanding of what I am about. He knows my name. She knows my name. So because they know my name, I will protect them. And when he calls to me, I will answer them. And when they get in trouble, I will rescue them. And I will honor them. And I will give them long life to satisfy them. And I will show them my salvation because they know my name. In another place, we are told that the name of the Lord is already stipulated as a strong tower, and the righteous run into that tower, and they are safe. Why? God says, because he knows my name. There is something special today to know who God is. There is something special today to have an understanding of who he is, of knowing his name today. His name is not just some obscure name written down somewhere in a book in a library, but his name is above all other names. He's not just a God, small letter G. He's not just a choice in this world, but he is the God of gods. He is the King of kings, and we glorify him today. So there's something special in knowing who God is and knowing his name, knowing about him. And I don't know that we ever entirely will know him until we see him. I don't know as long as we're on this earth, I don't know that we're ever going to entirely be able to understand everything about him. That shouldn't stop us from trying. Shouldn't stop us from studying. Shouldn't stop us from getting closer and knowing more and more about him. So it's an awesome thing to the Lord to know those that know his name. But let me also say that he, capital H, knows my, small letter M, name. He knows my name. So not only is the King of Kings happy when I know his name, but it's reciprocal. And I find that he knows my name. And I'm thankful for that. My name that was placed upon my birth certificate is Daniel Ray Serstedt. Some people try to cut corners. Some people try to use alternatives, but that's my name. And I'm thankful that the Lord knows my name. He knows who I am. He knows how many hairs I lost today. He knows my name. He knows how many pounds I lost or added yesterday. He knows my name. He knows my shortcomings. He knows my weaknesses. He knows my failings. He knows my name. He knows my desires. He knows my needs. He knows my passions. He knows my name. It's not just that he can say my name, but he knows my name. He knows all about me. He knows my beginning from my ending. He knows my dreams. He knows every nook and cranny of my innermost being. He knows my abilities or lack thereof. He knows my name. He knows the things today that are important to me. He knows the people that are important to me. He knows my physical condition. He knows my spiritual condition. He knows my name. Do you understand what I am saying today? In one sense, it's very simplistic. But if you can comprehend the depth of it, it is something that is transformational in a relationship. The God of heavens knows my name. The great physician, He knows my name. The wonderful counselor, He knows my name. The Almighty God, He knows my name. The everlasting Father, He knows my name. The Prince of Peace today, He knows my name. The King of Kings, the Lord of Lords, He knows my name. The God of heaven's armies, He knows my name. He knows my name. Let's establish that fact today, that He knows my name, that He knows your name. He knows exactly the moment you woke up this morning. He followed the entire process of getting ready to come to the house of God today. He knows your owies. He knows your hurts, your pains, your likes, your dislikes, your discomforts, your irritants. He knows everything about you. He knows your name. It's not just that He can say your name. He knows who you are. So, we have set two premises or two premisi. First of all, He knows my name. Second of all, He knows my name. So the question that I pose to you all this afternoon is, do you know His name? Are you one of those that David was referring to when he was writing on behalf of God? He knows my name. Are you part of that group today? Do you know who Jesus is? I was in a counseling session one time with the pastors a while ago now. I felt impressed to ask this particular question. I said, who or what do you love the most? Okay, as a pastor, I'm quaking when I ask this question. I said, who do you love the most? What do you love the most? What is the most important thing in your life? Who is number one? What is the what's at the pinnacle of your life? I asked this particular pastor that question. And on the surface, of course, it's a no-brainer, right? If we answered anything other than God, then there's a problem. I knew that. He knew that. Most of you know that. But there's a reason why I asked that question at that particular time in history. We know what the right question is, or what the right answer is to that question. We know what the right answer is. And there's many times that we just out of rote, we spill it out. But that's not what I was looking for, and both of us knew that. I wasn't looking for a memorized answer. I wasn't looking for a surface-orientated answer. I was looking for reality. I was looking for what was down deep within. I was looking for what was really the most pinnacle, the most important person or thing in this individual's life. And it is not always God. Now, we say that, and that is the right answer, but it's not always the true answer. And anybody that knows me knows that I don't spend a lot of time on the surface. I just go for broke most of the time. So I would challenge each of us here today with that same question. Who or what do you love the most? Who or what is at the pinnacle of your life? Who or what is the thing that you spend most of your time thinking about or focusing on or dreaming about or paying attention to? Who or what is the most important thing or one in your life? And don't answer that yet. I challenge every one of you not to answer that for about a week. And I'd like you to take this week and dissect that question. Understand if you do that this week, it'll take you into a whole nother month. You'll start thinking about this in April and still be thinking about it in May. But that's okay. Because what I really, really am interested in today is you and I getting a grasp of the reality of the answer of that question. Who is the most important in my life? There's a lot of important people in my life. There's a lot of important things in my life. A lot of important people in your life. A lot of important things in your life. But who is at the top? That's what I want you to figure out for yourself. And not just a knee-jerk reaction or a default answer. Take some time. Take this week, if you would, and figure out who you are most passionate about. What gets you the most excited in life? Who is it that you cling to the most? Who do you value the most in your life? And of course, it doesn't mean that you don't love other people or somebody else dearly. It doesn't mean that you don't have a prized possession in your home. I've got little trinkets in my office area, little pieces of paper that have somebody years ago used crayons on. Has absolutely no value to anybody else. To me, they're priceless. So there are things in life that are important to us. There are dreams in life that we have. There are desires and wants and wishes. Understand all of that. But what is the greatest? What is the most? What is the highest? What is the most prized? Who is the one that is the most special? If there is anything between you and God, then He is not at the pinnacle of your life. And so I'm not trying to present this in a negative fashion. I'm not here with a hammer banging on heads. Not at all. But I would like to stimulate your thought process in reality. We live in a world today that is able to rock us to sleep so much, as it were, if we allow it to. There's lots of things in this world that we can put our attention to. My wife and I, on the way up yesterday, I stopped in Woodland and looked at one of the home building places. I thought, wow, it'd be nice to build a new home. So I thought about that a little bit yesterday as I'm driving. I believe that would make the Lord happy because I know His name. But that's not what's going to keep me awake. That's not what I'm going to be thinking about every waken, whatever the word, proper use of that word is, every moment. There are things that we desire. There are things that I'm not really, that's well and good. But what I want to know, what I want you to figure out for you, the reality of it is who do you love the most? What is it that you love the most? Where is the greatest focus in your heart, in your mind? Is there anything today that is between you and God? See, God, we as humans, we've got this idea. We like to say, okay, this is number one in our life. This is number two in our life. This is number three in our life. A lot of people like lists. They want to categorize. This is the most important, second important, third important, and we like to do that. But the Bible only gives us number one. It never does give us number two. You can read it from beginning to end. It only gives us number one. Seek ye first the kingdom of God and His righteousness, and all of these things will be added unto you. Everything else that's important will be added unto you. Everything else that's important, you will be taken care of. But seek ye first. Number one, the most important thing. Seek ye first the kingdom of God and His righteousness. Everything else will fall into place. And so the question today is there anything or anyone between you and God? You need to figure that out for yourself. I can't tell you that answer. You need to, with you and God, you need to figure that out for yourself. There was a rich young ruler a few years ago. We don't know his name. He's referred to as a rich young ruler. And he loved one thing. There was just one thing that he loved more than he loved God. And that was his riches. He was a model citizen of the country. He was a student of the law. He had done all of these things from his youth. There's one thing that he would not do. Just one thing. And maybe for some of us here today, it's just one thing. There's just one thing. We're so close. We're so close. We're almost right there. Yes, God is extremely important in our life, but is He the most important? Is He number one? And I promise you today that if there is anything between you and the Lord, if there's anything there, it might just be one thing. And maybe you don't know. Maybe you need some help from the Lord to figure out if there is anything between you and Him. And I promise you today that if you will ask that question, He will let you know what it is. He will let you know what it is. For this young man, it was his riches. And he went away sorrowful because he couldn't do what the Lord was asking him to do. If the answer to that question, is there anything or anyone more important than Jesus Christ in your life today? If the answer is anyone or anything other than Him, then you will have a decision to make. And one day, to the one that knows His name, Jesus will say, "Well done, thou good and faithful servant. Enter thou into the joy of the Lord." You've been faithful in a few things. Come on in. That's what's going to happen to the one that knows His name. Stand with me, if you would. I know, been here a few times. I know I recognize some faces, but I don't know any of you anywhere near like God knows you. Don't know where you're at in your relationship with Him. But if you want to be classified as one who knows His name, I tell you today that nothing or no one can stand between you and Him. I hear this from time to time. Well, if this would happen, if that would happen, if this person would do this, if that person would stop doing that. I hear that from, I hear that. But in reality, it's not this or that person or this person or he or she or whom. It's none of that. There's nobody, nothing, no situation or circumstance in life that can keep you, that can insert itself between you and God if that's not what you want. There's nothing that can get between you and God if that's what you want, if that's what you decide, if that's what is important to you. Nothing can come between you and Jesus Christ. I'm thankful today that He knows my name. I'm thankful that He knows my name. I'm thankful He knows my shortcomings. I'm thankful He knows all the nooks and He knows all of that. He knows what I mean when you don't know what I mean. He knows all of that. He knows, and He loves me. So I'm thankful for that today. I'm grateful for that today. I'm so appreciative of that. But what I'm really interested in today is if God can look at me, if He can look at you and say, He knows my name. He knows my name. She knows my name. She knows my name. They know my name. That's what I'm interested in finding out today. That's what I want to know today. And so I ask all of us that are here today, do you know Him in His fullness? Do you know His name? Do you not? It's not just saying His name or reading His name, writing His name, but do you know Him in His entirety? Do you know about Him? Do you know what is important to Him? Do you know what makes Him look at a city and cry? Do you know what brings tears to His eyes? Do you know the things that His heartbeat? Do you know His desires? Do you know what He wants to do in your life? Do you know the things that are important to Him that we find record of in His Word? Do you know these things? Do you care enough to spend the time to study these things? What really is important to you? Do you know Him in His fullness? Do you know Him in His fullness? Do you know His name? I'd like us to, if you would, be so kind to spend a few moments before we go our way today. And maybe for some, you don't know His name like you used to. Maybe for some you would qualify as Revelation chapter 2, I believe the church in Ephesus, they lost their first love. That was a problem with the Lord. And if that's where you're at today, it's a problem currently, but it doesn't have to be a problem in a few minutes. If you, in looking at yourself, can realize that there's a time that I was closer to the Lord than I am today, you need to get back where you are and then move forward from there. If you're not where you want to be in your relationship to God, you can start that process today. You can move in that direction today. If if you don't have His Spirit residing within you, that can happen today. If you've never repented of your sin, that can take place today. You can begin that relationship with the Almighty God, the one that I've been talking about today. You can begin that in your life, and He can say, I know that person's name, and all of those benefits that have been apportioned out to those individuals can be also, you can be included in that. So do you know His name? Do you know who Jesus is? Do you know who Jesus is? I'm going to open up this front. I'd love it if everybody would get out of their comfort zone or your pew or your aisle, or just let's find somewhere to focus on the Lord for a few moments. If we need to reintroduce ourselves, then let's do that today. Hallelujah, hallelujah. Let's reach out to the Lord. Let's